Make some noise for the Seattle Surge.
The Surge have a brilliant mix of players.
Everybody loves these guys. They've been on multiple teams. They've always been consistent.
They've won a lot. They've lost a lot.
It's an easy team to be a fan of.
I'm a fan. I can't hide it.
The thing that stood out for me the most in Seattle right away is you have Octane and Slacked. One of the most successful duos in the history of Call of Duty.
Locking down the lanes here. Octane doing what he does best.
Apathy and Karma, both world champions.
Karma is the GOAT.
This is huge with the slam! Oh my goodness!
They call him the GOAT for a reason.
The cornerstone of Seattle has to be Karma.
Three-time champ, can't go wrong there.
There's so much more to this game than a kill-death ratio, and that is something that Karma does so well.
The Surge will be kicking themselves the way they started that series.
I think their biggest weakness as a roster would possibly be their search and destroy.
Finally, Seattle Surge win a search and destroy.
The biggest issue is making them work together, and if they can get through that, that Seattle squad is going to be really dangerous.
Octane! Octane gets it!
Seattle is a bunch of old men. I'm excited to see if they can continue to be those great veteran players that we all know and love.
The veteran ability I think they have, this should be a team that does not make mistakes. You don't make a lot of mistakes, you win games.
With age, experience, with championships under their belt, the makings of a great team just have to find that right mixture.
Let's look at the Sony team profile there for Seattle Surge. Of course, you highlighted almost pretty well the search and destroy woes chance that team has gone through. When it comes to a game mode, they have struggled massively in games 2 and 5.
And I think that's going to be the clearest cut way to see if Panda's made an impact on the team. Like Respawn, I think there might be slight differences, and obviously for Seattle, you hope it'll be major differences, but in my mind, it is, they're 1-7 right now in search and destroy. They've lost like 3 round 11s. They need to turn around in that game mode, and then the Seattle Surge can start having success.
Well, let's take a look at our game fuel. Keys to victory for Seattle Surge. Number 1, focus on search and destroy. No surprise there. And number 2, Panda needs to have good first impression. Of course, all eyes will be on him when you come in as a substitute. All pressure on your shoulders to perform at a high level.
And I think the pressure is on him as an individual as well to have that good impression. Like, they could win, but if he looks bad, that's going to be in the back of everyone's mind of like, hey, if there's better options looking forward, you never know. Like, he has not yet solidified this role. He needs to perform.
And on the flip side, if you win and you look like a superstar, you might just cement yourself in the starting roster. Moving on, though, we'll talk keys to victory for Minnesota Røkkr. Keep up the team effort in Respawn. Everyone is contributing, and it needs to stay that way. And to be honest, Chance, I kind of agree with the last part. I think it does need to stay that way for consistency's sake.
This highlights the perfect point of where I'm saying of like the mirror that you're looking at between these two teams. It is 4 guys, like the guys that statistically are not doing overwhelmingly well in Røkkr are still putting up a massive amount of productions. They are involved constantly, and they're really genuinely doing their job to a T. That's the flip side on Seattle where we don't see that. The guys that are statistically underperforming are genuinely just doing that.
Well, let's look at the quick scope for the series presented by the U.S. Air Force. When you compare the two teams, CDL points, advantage Minnesota. Match record, of course, advantage Minnesota there as well. Game record, advantage Minnesota there as well.
And think about how much is that is just left on the side of search and destroy for Seattle Surge. Like the respawn hasn't been great. Like their domination has been very solid. Their hardpoint has been fine. It's really just that S&D.
Well, here's a look at our maps and modes for the series. We start with a Hackney Yard hardpoint, following a St. Petro game 2 and 3. The series is to go any further. Ramar's a hardpoint and a potential Arklov Peak game 5 search and destroy. I think the key thing that we note from game number 1 there is the crazy little stat difference for Minnesota. They're 3-0. On the flip side, Seattle haven't played that map. So a lot of information to be gathered on their standpoint from Hackney Yard hardpoint. But without further ado, let's meet the Minnesota Røkkr.
Assault, a clean 5-man wipe. Here comes Silly. Get him, Silly!
Seam making the play. Alex with the triple. He's the man of the moment, and he's not slowing down.
It's all Minnesota in the kill feed. Røkkr goes huge. Are you kidding? The Røkkr are lighting it up.
Minnesota Røkkr in a great spot this weekend. Could potentially be a dark horse at the event, maybe even make a final as well. Excited to see exactly what Minnesota Røkkr we get this weekend in LA.
I mean, it's the final thing for me, right? They've solidified in my mind. They're an elite team. They're at the top of their game. Now they just have to prove that they can win.
Well, we met Minnesota Røkkr. Now, introducing Seattle Surge.
This is huge. This is huge.
Are you serious?
Apathy finds the triple.
Enable! Karma's starting to heat things up.
It's the Octane Clinic.
And coming into this series, I think many have Seattle Surge the underdogs here. But oh, could this series potentially turn around their entire season chance? One good match could give them so much confidence to potentially go on and earn even more CDL points.
And they're in an interesting spot as well, because the CDL points, they're obviously not in a great spot, but it is still just a dogfight towards the bottom. Really, you want to be in the top 4. That is the ideal spot, but you are desperate to, at the very least, be in the top 8. But you can see Seattle Surge, they are tied with a ton of teams right in that 8th seed. They need at least a win here, I would say, at this event, just to get the ball rolling, if not a couple.
And on the flip side for Minnesota Røkkr, it's very exciting for them. They're in 4th place. You look who's above them. Well, Atlanta FaZe, yes, they're here. They're going to keep going up and up and up in those rankings, but a good weekend could see them potentially go as far as number 2 or maybe number 1 in the leaderboards, depending on what happens with FaZe.
I was going to say, FaZe would have to drop the ball and make that happen.
They would, but it's possible. It's possible.
And again, when we're going to see these CDL points start to shape up throughout the year, it's really going to be a bunch of teams are going to be clear-cut in that top 4 range. Minnesota, I'm expecting to be a team that will be in that clear-cut top 4 range, but that means you can't afford to drop the ball. And I will say, as down as we've been for Seattle, I genuinely think this will be a good series, Ben.
Okay.
I know the expectation for everybody is going to be Minnesota to win 3-0, 3-1.
That's my
fairly comfortable, right? And I'm not saying that that is incorrect, but I do think Seattle is ready to play. I do think they will make improvements with Panda on the roster. I think they'll be good to go.
Well, I hope you're right, and I'm sure all the neutrals out there watching hope you are right as well. But we're going to tease you. The game's not ready just yet. Hackney Yard game number 1. And if you're just tuning in, the interesting storyline really on this map and mode specifically, Minnesota 3-0, whereas Seattle Surge yet to play it. So we have a ton of information on Minnesota's side, really not that much from Seattle. But the one thing you can say, when you watch Minnesota play this, they're so consistent about making sure they're making the right decision off spawn. Too many times you'll see players just, overextend or just push blindly. They're making the right decisions consistently, and it's giving them big leads.
And to hammer home the storyline as much as I possibly can, when you're looking at the Minnesota team, especially on this map, it is the Alex and Goddard show. They just put on a show as much as possible. This is where they drop a ton of numbers. This is when their engagements are insane, but then it's your Seam and it's your Sillies. They're not getting as many kills, but they're still involved as much as possible, and those are the guys that are making those sneaky plays. Like you're going to see on P2, if Minnesota doesn't have the good spawn, they're going to throw a smoke to kind of cut off like the middle lane, and Asim is just going to try to crawl through it, just to try to get in that little sneaky break on a P2. They make plays like that consistently.
Well, there's a quick glance at the hardpoint stats overall. Minnesota Røkkr 7-5, Seattle Surge 3-6. So just in the game mode, of course, Minnesota Røkkr better as well.
Better as well, and again, 3 of those 7 wins are purely just on this map. They are a well-oiled machine, and another thing to shape up when you're thinking about the records, even if the Røkkr 7-5 doesn't look outstanding, still respectable, then playing some pretty good competition.
Yeah, that's the key, right? You look at some of the teams that they've played some of the best teams in the league, and they still walk out with a positive record. But Chance, I want you to just kind of break down in a little more detail here exactly how this map specifically is going to work. I mean, normally we emphasize, of course, that second hill, P2.
I mean, so in this game, basically any hill can be a money hill, even hill number 1, just because the way P2 works out. But the spawns are so sticky just on the right side of the map. Let's see if I can actually draw some stuff. Oh, yeah. You spawn here all the time. But again, just to talk about like the Minnesota smoke strat, this is the kind of area that they're trying to block off the lines of sight from any of the guys coming outside. So whichever side that they're going to be pushing from, whichever side the attack, you just have to worry about half as many guns from the other side that you normally are going to do. And someone is just trying to try to sneak their way through and kind of come up inside the hill and, well, maybe have a little bit of success. Well, a lot of arrows on the map, which now I got to figure out how to.
If you want, you can draw around apathy. You're more than
smiley faces. Oh, we could. No, Ben, this is going to be a fun year.
Yeah, Chance.
Be a very fun
I might have to take the telestrator away from you, but thank you for breaking that down. Appreciate that. Of course, we emphasize every single time we see this map, P2 is so important. Of course, if you get a favorable side, we expect you to go up 60, maybe 70 points. But one thing Minnesota Røkkr specifically on this map are very good at is when they're on the bad side, they break through the spawns so quickly. It's almost as if it's instant. You spawn, you say, all right, guys, we got a good side. Let's make sure we don't, wait, we lost spawns? How did that happen? They're so efficient at it.
And again, this is one of those teams that you've actually seen clips of people posting on Twitter of just like the mini-map of like some random person on Minnesota. And again, normally it's a seam or silly, just finds a way. Just finds the way to get through a smoke, whatever it's going to be. They get behind enemy lines and they open up the map for their team. But we'll see. Seattle, new men on the roster, if they can get that bounce back.
Well, of course, we've been guessing Minnesota Røkkr, but it only makes sense to start off on board with the new boy in the block. In Seattle Surge, it's going to be Panda. We know in terms of ability, he has tons of it. But can he get the job done in his first series here in the CDL? Well, it's going to be aided by the fact that his teammates actually start by winning those gunfights. And again, to re-emphasize that P2 storyline, it's Seattle Surge with a favorable spawn off the rip. As Athlete finds himself 2 kills.
And this is perfect. Minnesota already just trying to force their way through mid-map, but then you have to go to deal with Octane. And, well, after these been shredding as well, but after these jobs, just watch the front. Keep your guys inside the hill.
And this is a must-win fight for Slack, too. It was an easy one, but still, Seattle Surge hold the spawns for the second hill. Minnesota have broken through into the first hill, however, so they will start earning themselves a couple of points here and there. Still plenty of time left on the hill.
Nice kills from Assault, though. Just trying to hold down the one doorway. He's able to pick up 3, and that just means Seattle's going to say, all right, now we just need to hold, stabilize. We're not going to get any time on P1. All of that will go to Minnesota. And here's the smokes. These are the ones going to be coming out from Minnesota to try to start to work their way through. But Seattle right now doing a very good job, just trying to stabilize, just trying to make sure that they can hold on.
Of course, Alex still inside the hill, picking up the scrap time, but Seattle, credit where credit is due. They've managed to hold on to that spawn for quite a significant time, really since the very beginning of the game. So this is where that early Minnesota lead should diminish, and that's definitely going to help. The triple kill from Octane with the nade.
Shades of Kobe Bryant in LA. Octane going big right now, and this has just been the full 60 hold. We're potentially going to see on P2 Minnesota. They can get one more attempt at trying to work their way through, and the move is being made in the middle as GodRx is trying to work through the right side. But you can see Octane. He has been in this perch this entire game. He's just waiting for these players to get to the steps.
And this is where you have to rely heavily on your utility, right? Your smoke, stuns, nades. You have to try and break through with all the utility if you can, but maybe, just maybe, Minnesota could have done it there. Not gonna happen. Panda back inside the hill. He'll shut that story down.
Someone's being annoying though. Panda's gonna have one more gunfight, and this is gonna be potentially a big 10 seconds if it goes the way of Minnesota, but he's gonna be able to shut it down and secure that time. And it's little things like that that Minnesota always attempts. Panda was ready and waiting.
May not be a flashy start statistically for Panda, just at 3 and 5, but 35 seconds hill time. You can already see that role starting to develop for him.
Just about to make sure that he can get those big kills, but of course Minnesota, when they're down, they're going to need to get the bounce back. Apathy all the way up top L. He's going to potentially be causing a couple problems. Really, he just needs to stay alive, and Octane's going to be the one to make move inside the hill. Him and Slack approach it together. The old duo at it again.
Very quick break, and Seattle will build upon that lead. Still 35 seconds left here on the third hill. Contest comes through. Octane not sure where Alex came from, but he deals with him and will remain inside the hill once again, earning Seattle Surge a bigger lead.
And that's another example of Minnesota just attempting to get the good smokes out of the way. You smoke off Octane, he can't watch anything on the front. A player gets through, but that is 2 times in a row where someone for Seattle has just won the big gunfight to secure the time. And, well, that's the biggest reason why they're able to keep a little bit of a lead.
Keep your eye on the minimap, though. Asim's actually managed to sneak all the way around the outside, so a potential big fight could come through bottom green. Now, if he can just stay alive, wait for his teammates to come and support, he may be able to try and break through into this new hard point as it pops. His teammates are there now as he slides down the stairs. There's the first. Nice disciplined play coming from Asim, but still needs to buy more time for his teammates. Now potentially could go for the contest. The problem is, Seattle Surge, they know he's up there. It's only a matter of time before he gets hunted down.
Yeah, right now Minnesota just doing a fantastic job of staying alive. Asim just being annoying up top, and that means the kills are going to come easy when you get your teammates in the spot you want. And now, of course, Silly, well, he's just going to be watching one cut. Eventually might start to flank, while the rest of the Surge, they try to go in, but got to deal with GodRx, and, well, Octane does just that.
And honestly, credit to Asim, really, to start off this hill without him being a nuisance and forcing Seattle to respect his presence top stairs. Honestly, I don't think Minnesota would have been able to break in and hold as much time as they have. Still with 15 seconds left, that scrap time is good for Minnesota. However, spawn control definitely in control from Seattle Surge.
This is just too easy of a hold, honestly, for Minnesota. Again, down by 20 going into it. Now they're going to come away with a 25-point lead, respectable one at that. But of course, Seattle, it's been a back-and-forth game. They got the early rotation. We'll see if they can hold on as well. A hill, another one, you can hold on for a full 60. Every hill's a money hill, but Silly trying to get through the smoke.
Oh, Panda. Just turns and burns Silly. I think there were some team shots that went in there as well, but either way, Panda with an important double kill. However, Minnesota were still able to break inside the hill. Asim is going to be there, unfortunately. It's Panda again that soars in and again finds himself a double, leading the way for Seattle Surge when it comes to breaking these hills.
Massive plays coming in from Panda. Again, that was a hill where Minnesota seemed to walk through a little bit too easy, but now you stabilize. You got the goat up top with the double headshot feed. But of course, we're thinking long term. The final 18 seconds on this hill will be going to Seattle. Now it's about the fight for the right side of the map.
And this is so important for Minnesota. They spawned, of course, on the unfavorable side. They have to lock down the favorable P2 spawns here. Yes, the initial time at least split 50-50. That doesn't matter. Your comeback mechanic in this map specifically will be holding that right side of the map.
Octane knows a couple players are nearby, but his teammates are not near him, and his teammates are actually going to fall. Alex makes a big read, and Seattle says, well, now we're going to have to go all the way around the wrong side of the map. We're going to give up all this time just to fight for P2.
And GodRx needs help. He's the only one there for Minnesota, and Seattle are going to surge straight through. There's two. There's still two other players there, and if you're Minnesota, you have to push back, and look what happened. They've lost complete spawn control. Seattle Surge with a favorable spawn and also contesting the hill. That could be massive. Minnesota, they needed to control that.
At the same time, though, Minnesota's going to be like, okay, you spent all that time to fight for the spawns. We're just going to get a bunch on P1 and turn this into a money hill themselves. The first 40 seconds have gone their way. If they get the final 20, they're still going to have a decent little lead, and Alex inside the hill, winning some of these gunfights in Assault. Well, he's nearby for the trades. Happy trying to make a sneaky play. He gets dealt with, so look at that investment. You spend all that time to secure some spawns, but you give away a full 60 on P1. If Minnesota's able to break through on P2, which they've already done once in this game, they're going to be feeling pretty good.
And we'll see if they can try and repeat the somewhat success they had in that first rotation. For now, it's Seattle Surge inside the hill. You said you expected it to be a close series with a lot of close games. This does not look like it's going to disappoint. 174, 153. Still 40 seconds of the second hill available as Octane is watching anyone pushing through Fireside. Meanwhile, Karma looking over towards P1. He should have at least one kill to his name. He will. And as long as you're trading at least 1 for 1, you're delaying Minnesota getting anywhere near the hill.
And here it is. The sneaky man's able to get through. Number 4, Silly. He's the one that's trying to make the play. He's just got to win the one gunfight up top, but Apathy shuts him down. Again, Seattle prepared for this sneakiness for Minnesota.
I mean, you just see how simple this looks now for Seattle Surge. If you're Minnesota, you have to back away, tuck your tail between your legs, and rotate over towards P3 because Seattle Surge have locked that hill down. The lead now over 20 points as we rotate. Minnesota, they need a response, and P3 is not exactly easy to hold, Chance.
Not entirely easy to hold, but right now they have a pretty good setup. They got a lot of pressure coming up from the P1 side of the hill. Assault inside of it. Just needs to watch mid with an AR. It's easy for him, but you can see all the pressure Seattle wants to get control just from that P1 area.
I'll tell you what, whoever that is inside the hill for Minnesota has done so well. I believe that was actually Assault. Just managed to dance between the nades, and the shot stayed alive. Still has his presence in the hill. We will see a lead change come through. Advantage Minnesota once again.
And Seattle are just spawning so far away, even on this middle hill. You try to get through mid-map, which the feed is going to be good enough to do it. Silly, the last man up for his team, wins 2 big gunfights, give him the third, does get taken down, but does just enough damage to slow Seattle down. So they got one body in the hill, but Minnesota might be able to swarm.
The problem, though, still for Minnesota persistent. Not only do you want to try and get the scrap time, you also do want to push through, and it was actually Asim in the first rotation who made such a smart play. Just his presence inside green was enough really to disturb Seattle's strategy of just locking down that hill. That's not going to be the case here. Seattle should be good to lock down the early time here in this hill.
Question is, can Minnesota get the break? GodRx just slaying out this game. 26 kills, trying to get a couple more, but Karma's there for the trades. The pressure inside the hill. Now it's the SMG's turn. Alex is able to find one, including his teammate. He's the lone man up and wins the big gunfight on Slack.
Oh, he read that so well. He shuts down Slack in Minnesota now. They could theoretically close it here. Seattle will need to contest, and more importantly, will need to push through as GodRx on top of Box. He's able to find the first. Assault will trade places, replace his fallen teammate, but it doesn't matter because Silly's inside the hill. He's found himself too. If Apathy goes through that door, he surely will fall as well. If you're Seattle, you've got to go. 9 seconds. Finally, the push comes through, but it doesn't matter. Silly's still inside. Silly's still there alive. He'll find one and an assist. A chance that should be GG game 1.
Too good on offense. The last-ditch effort coming in, but just one more point. But Panda
doesn't matter.
Able to find a couple kills, but still just 1 second needed. There's a gunfight at the bottom, and Octane is in the middle.
Wait a minute. Oh, I thought that was going to be the play.
They're in. They survived for now.
how on earth Seattle Surge have just survived and got spawn control is a damn near miracle, but the game still goes on. Minnesota searching for just 1 point as the Røkkr surge towards the final hill. Slack, so crucial, needs to stay alive up top, but has to be ready to spring into life as Assault being very disciplined, very sneaky, but he's gonna fall. Seattle Surge, is this gonna be an epic comeback? The contest still there, it doesn't matter. A scene storms through the front door, and Minnesota close out game number 1.
Hate to say I told you so, Ben. Seattle is looking a lot better, but Minnesota still just such a strong team.
I'll give you that. You're a smart man, Chance. You're a smart man. You know what you're talking about.
I mean, impressive stuff from both teams the whole way around. I think when you go back and look at the box score, we'll see the actual score right now.
Alex.
It was expected to be Alex and GodRx's playground. They do the exact same thing here once again.
Hold on. Alex had 36 kills, 26 deaths, and 2 minutes, 17 seconds of hill time.
Pretty good.
The man just did it all.
I mean, and so much of that time was on Office as well. The game went about as well as you expected. The team get their rotation, gets the amount of time you'd expect per the hill, but Office was completely locked down by Minnesota. They just did way too much.
I mean, we'll take a look now at our SCUFGAMING play of the game. It's basically a highlight reel of Alex.
This is where he gets a 3-piece as well. I think, yeah, Gun's a player, makes the read on Octane, and that's just one of those kills that it just solidifies the map for you. Stuff like that, it just buys you an extra 30 seconds, but it was inside this hill. Again, I wish we could get the box score. I'll have to take time and do the math a little bit later, but it was just pure and utter dominance on the Office hill. And I don't think we've seen a team really lock it down in that form, because if it wasn't for that, Seattle would have won that game.
They definitely would have. Minnesota find themselves now 1-0 up in the series. We talk about search and destroy, though, and we talk about Seattle Surge. It's always in a negative way. I think they've won, what, one match?
1-7.
A game 5, 1-7 overall record. Search and Seattle, it just doesn't go hand in hand. But there's one man that could potentially try and turn things around. You look at Octane specifically, normally so consistent in that game mode. When you think back historically about how good he's been, just consistent in Search. He has to do something here to turn it around for Seattle.
I mean, it's the whole team. Honestly, it's not really just him. This, in my mind, is where I really want to see Panda perform and do well. Sure. This is the easiest way, because in the respawn, you definitely can make an impact, but this is not where Enable was slacking off at all. This is just where the team was decent respawn. You think you might be able to mild improvements. The S&D is the only thing that Seattle's really needed to put 80% of their intention to over the past few weeks.
It definitely wasn't Enable's strongest game
mode.
Not,
no.
We can say that, but Octane, he's the guy that I think everyone looks at to just lead by example for Seattle Surge. He can be so good. You see it in respawn all the time, and if he can transfer that across into game 2, Search and Destroy, I mean, surely that could be enough to turn Seattle's woes around.
And of course, for Octane, a lot of the times it's when he's having a sniper, he'll have quite a bit of success. And I think we're going on to St. Petrograd, so he's going to be pulling out the boomstick for at least 30% of the rounds, if not the entire game. But on the flip side, GodRx is going to be just rubbing his hands, waiting for the chance to take down Octane.
I mean, we're talking about 16th all-time Call of Duty tournament wins. And in terms of CWL All-Stars, you see it there. But there's a quick glance at our CDL overall KD. Octane, he's in number 4. GodRx, he's right behind him in number 5.
Not too far off, and again, playing a little bit of different roles. Any of these subs that are really peeking towards the top, which Simp obviously stealing the show, selling him not too far behind.
But Luskin as well.
Those are impressive. Well, again, the ARs, though, I'm expecting numbers like that.
He's been playing lights out this year.
He has been. Better than Octane, though. I don't know if I'd go that far. I don't know if I'd go that far just yet, because Octane, I mean, he's been king of that role for quite a few years now, Ben.
Well, as it stands, Minnesota 1-0 up. Heading into just this game 2, Search and Destroy. Seattle Surge, as we mentioned, 1-7. For Minnesota Røkkr, it's actually even 4-4. They've not necessarily been outstanding at this game mode, but they've not really been lackluster either.
Not at all. And of course, again, St. Petro, you expect to be the sniper battle. It's one of those moments that if Octane can just shut GodRx down quickly and early on, it makes it that much easier for you. Because Seattle, they haven't really struggled with the first bloods at all. I think they're in the top half of the league at the very least. But really, it's about converting it. That's been their issue. And that's, in my mind, where Panner needs to turn up for the team.
It is worth mentioning, specifically on this map, it is the only Search and Destroy map Seattle has actually had success on. They are 1-0, their only win coming on St. Petro. On the flip side for Minnesota, they sit at 1-1 on this map specifically.
Yeah, and in my mind, that just tells me that we really don't know what to expect from these two teams. Until you've seen a team play a map maybe 4 or 5 times, or at least in Search and Destroy, you don't really know what their strategies are going to be, because they're not going to have to pull out all the stuff.
Right.
And of course, now they've taken an extra couple weeks to try to fine-tune those even more. Of course, for Seattle, you got to figure out what Panner is going to be doing on the map, because I don't know if he's going to do exactly the enable role.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Do you just give him bomb, or does maybe Slack take that role?
I mean, I have my recommendation. I don't know what the actual
What would be your recommendation?
I would have Slack just be the bomb planner. I would let Panner try to run around the map. Unless Panner just wants to be that role, but you're the new man on the team, I think you just let him do what he's most comfortable with, which for GodRx, it's sniping.
Oh, we hit those, GodRx. Of all the shots, we hit those. The smoke goes out. Almost. But the one thing I will say is he got a ton of information there. Before that smoke was thrown, it was a late smoke. He knows nobody at all has crossed over towards A, and that will be confirmed information from his teammates already locking down the site.
If I know anything about sniping and Search, when you miss shots like that, your team just loses the round, but we'll see.
Just to kind of piggyback on the point we made at the very beginning, it's actually going to be Karma that goes for bomb.
And look at this spot, by the way. This is such a nice spot, all the way in the back corner of the map. GodRx, the best angle you could possibly have.
Oh, come on. Maybe?
That player's not going to peek.
No. Are you sure? Seconds. Are you sure? Because I tell you, GodRx saw him. He gets the information. Surely this is the pick and hit marker. We waited all that time. GodRx not having too much success early here with the sniper rifle.
Always the hit markers. It makes it so tough, but at the same time, less than 30 seconds left on the clock. Seattle are now surging over towards this B site.
Oh, and it was Karma that was trying to make the play, and unfortunately, remember, he was the bomb carrier here for Seattle. As Apathy will have to try and cut the map, try and make a play here. So at least one of his teammates can retrieve the bomb. As Panda goes straight to the back of the map. He knows GodRx is going to be there. But expected push comes through, and Minnesota surely now should be able to close this out. It was a 3 versus 1 in Minnesota's favor. Slack makes it 2 versus 1. Shot in the side. Minnesota close out the first round.
They tried. They tried, I guess you could say.
Valiant effort.
I will say, any round where the sniper one misses an easy shot, and then the shot he does hit gets a hit marker, those are normally the rounds that you take full advantage of on the offense. But Seattle just couldn't get anything to work for him. You have to go so deep into the enemy's map when you try to go to that B site. It just takes so much time off the clock, and obviously with no dead silence, couldn't make the play.
Quick glance at your stats to start this off. GodRx, of course, with 2 kills. 2 whiff snipers as well. Keep that in the back of your mind. Alex continuing on that fantastic pace from game 1. He'll sit at 2-1, but you'll see the difference here for Minnesota. They're definitely going to be attacking that A site, and you expect that information to come very quickly. Omar expects the push to come through the smoke. I'm not even sure how he saw that, but the trade comes through instantly. 4v4.
And that player that got that trade is going to back up quickly, but Slack in the back of his mind is going to have to be at least a little concerned about the flank. Seattle Surge have a ton of pressure on defense. Pander's managed to potentially get through enemy lines. And Panner might be able to make a play eventually. Meanwhile, Octane has fallen to assault.
The problem is, yes, you're making the play on the flank, but whilst you're making that play, everyone is falling. Finally, Panda springs into life. There's the first. Alex tagged up as well. Leaves the Seam and Alex by themselves in a 2v2, but it's made a 2v1 now. What a time this could be to solidify your spot on this roster. 1 versus 2 here in round 2 for Panda. And he's read it pretty well, Chance. I'll give him his credit, and he's also about to get dead silence too.
Question is, how's the timing going to work out? One player from Minnesota all the way back to back. The other right in front of him has to force the 1v1, but the player able to get away.
He has information now, though, at least on where that second player is. Unfortunately for him, the first scrambled away.
And it's over in my mind. He's so loud, the player's going to hear him and just gun him down. He had a small opportunity, but once he starts walking around like an elephant, there's simply nothing you can do.
What if he finds that first kill, though? That definitely gets very, very interesting. Alex up top, though, secures the kill and the round. Minnesota 2-0 up here in game 2.
We'll see if Seattle can pull anything out of the bag. Obviously on offense, the very first round they had, they tried to force it into B very slowly, ran out of time. Now they have a couple more dead silences available to them. Might be an opportunity to start making some plays.
I think the key really for Seattle is throw the smoke to cross, regardless if you're even playing that site. It's just so late. There's smoke cross. You can't do that. Octane's actually team killed, well, almost team killed, shot a teammate in the back of the head, and that resulted with him actually dying because of how early in the round that actually happened. But for Seattle, that's just sloppy search. If you're going to cross, you have to throw the smoke. You cannot give GodRx the information. Forget the kill. Just the information alone is too much.
Well, 2v3 for Seattle. Karma up top needs to win the gunfight. Asim is going to be forced to back down. Seattle, they need to find a pick, and that was the first opportunity. Gone.
That was good bait as well from the team. He opened the door. Teammate's still going to be there to assist, and he should find one. He's actually stunned his teammate, but I don't think it matters at all. Minnesota 3-0, and I'm just going to say, watching this, you can really understand why Seattle is struggling in search. Just simple, fundamental things.
I'm just going to say, I don't think Octane should have killed himself. Like, I know that's how it works in the CDL playlist. I didn't realize that's how it worked here. He shot his teammate in the back of the head, so he got reflected damage.
Yeah, too soon in the round. Reflected damage, bro. Bang, you're out.
First year we've had that, at least on land. We'll see if that continues. You know, I mean, you're sniping your teammate anyway. You got to avoid that, I suppose, but interesting little mechanic we're seeing here on the main stage, Ben.
3-0, the advantage for Minnesota. The smoke go out, Minnesota cross. Really want to go straight away for site control. Well, Karma Sniff got RX out perfectly. First blood for Seattle, followed quickly by a second. Apathy shuts down Alex.
Apathy just going to let it ride, goes out, gets the next kill, just keeps that man advantage nice and high. Panther finds one as well, and this is an example of why it's tough to go A on offense, Ben. There was a car there, leave him alone.
I was going to say, we'll get there eventually. It was a long gunfight. The best part was Slack was assisted by Panda up top. Gunfight took way too long.
But again, in my mind, that really shows how difficult it is. You try to cross an A early, you're going to get hit by 17 different nades. Sure. You can't get that early control of the site, and you see how aggressive Apathy can even be afforded to be because of all the nades that come through. Just clean up the easy kills over at the A site.
Well, speaking of kills, Octane with 0 right now, 0-3. On the other side, GodRx 5-2, Alex 4-3. You see the difference having them alive on the map makes. They fall for first and second blood last round. And Seattle Surge comfortably winning. Apathy has just gone straight down mid-map. Love this play. Teammate in support. The flank is coming in, and Minnesota know absolutely nothing about it. He's even pre-firing for number 3. Not going to find it just yet, though. But Seattle Surge with a 2-man advantage.
And I have no idea why Minnesota isn't watching the most obvious flank that always happens on St. Petro. Just have someone watch the middle lane. But they don't, and so they're all dead. Now the bomb's down. Seattle should be able to win this round, bar someone going crazy for Minnesota. Assault maybe trying to make the play, but someone's going to have to get at least a 2-piece to open this thing up.
A good nade from Panda just delays the push, if nothing else. Just 25 seconds left. Assault will find one. Apathy falls, but trades do come through. And GodRx left on his lonesome. Seattle Surge take their second round here in game 2.
And again, I have no idea what that was.
I don't know what that was.
Doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, we've seen that exact flank in this game alone like 3 times.
Yeah.
I just, like, from both teams.
From both teams on both sides. Yeah, mid-map is one you should probably be
Just don't know why. I don't know if they were expecting to be able to, like, hear it from the guy that was up top, but whatever their idea was, obviously, Apathy will say thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, smart from App and his teammate who hit that flank as well. They saved their dead silence from the round prior to make sure you don't use it. Pop it, and boom, open up the map. Still, though, there's Minnesota with the advantage. Smokes are going to be out. Apathy this time wants to rush over towards the A site. On the flip side for Minnesota, it's going to be slow and steady. Wins the race on attack. Site's going to have a ton of work to do. The trade instantly comes through. Alex actually finds himself a double there. Octane up top can be of no help. Too much smoke on the map for his liking. Has to back away.
Alex just doing Alex things.
It's incredible.
Octane, though, watching the cross. Apathy, know the pressure's going to come nearby. Alex doing Alex things. That's number 3 on the round, looking for the ace. They're just trying to clear out the back spawn, make sure everything's safe and good to go before they get this plant. And we saw the first round, Seattle had less than 30 seconds. Minnesota, they got a full minute to work with.
Can he find the ace? Well, teammates shooting. Bear in mind, he does have bomb in hand here, so for Minnesota to close this out, he may have to get a little closer towards B. Silly may have just heard the Seattle player just to his left. Not sure if he did just yet. GodRx will remove any chance of an ace, but he'll find the snipe, and with 25 seconds left, you expect that bomb to be going down, which it is. Karma left to perform pretty much a miracle. Clean trade.
I wonder how much of that was like sniffing out players and making sure that they weren't in the back, and how much was just, let's wait for everybody to get the dead silence. Like, we're in a 5 versus 2. Because, like, in my mind, they had already cleared out the back. They had stun-checked everything.
Full control of sight.
And then they still waited another, what, 20 seconds before they made a move.
Pretty much.
I'm not saying that is the explanation, but it might have been.
Makes sense.
Either way, they obviously took the time. A lot of the players on the map for the Røkkr going to be a lot closer to that dead silence, which in Search and Destroy is a massive advantage.
Especially if you can have it early. I mean, you saw the effect Apathy had a few rounds ago. You pop it, you run straight through mid. If you get lucky timings, well, you can just run straight down. And is Apathy going to try it again? He is. The deep smoke should aid him. Bear in mind, no dead silence this time, and GodRx is watching the cross, so he will find one. The trade is instant no from Panda. He finds himself 5-4 in this search and destroy, having a relatively decent game, but Seattle still trailing by 2.
Still trailing by 2, but a minute to work with. A bunch of players on top right now trying to comb their way through the top of this building. Panda, the man leading the charge. Assault nading himself, not ideal. He's basically forcing himself to back up. So Seattle, they do have a ton of pressure on site. On the cross, Karma wins the big one-on-one.
Potentially more work to be done, though. Assault found himself a nice little spot. Unfortunately, though, Octane knows to check it. Karma finds 2. Silly has popped his dead silence, and he will drop as well. Seattle Surge keeping it close, keeping it interesting.
Nice little bounce back around. Doing a great job to get control, and Banner, the man right now, making the nice little play. As soon as you get clearance over to the B site, someone just needs to turn and say, hey, I know at least 2 guys are going to be over at A. Let's watch the cross back, clean up those easy kills. As soon as you get site control over at the B site, which again, takes a very long time to clear out, but if you're successful, you then have a massive advantage.
Next round underway. Minnesota back on the attacking scene. Will be carrying the bomb. GodRx 9-4, Alex 7-5. The 2 superstars of this Minnesota squad carrying the weight as, once again, some reflective damage coming through there. Teammates are careful. First blood from Apathy. GodRx, though, with the trade. 4v4.
4v4 and quite a bit of clearance on the A side. Karma's forced to back all the way up. In Seattle, well, they have pressure mid-map, so they're not worried about the flank at all, but they are worried about how much control you can actually get over A. Fortunately for Minnesota, just because Karma's up top, they don't know if they can get the bomb down yet, but that's Silly's responsibility. Stare at this window, let your teammate get the bomb down. Gotta hit the shots.
Slack wants to try and throw his nade out. Silly will stay alive. Challenges. Karma knew he was going to be weak, takes full advantage of that. Bomb, of course, has gone down, though, so a chance for a retake from Seattle Surge. This could be massive. GodRx needs to at least find 2 here to try and level out the playing field. He'll find the first. That's Karma pre-fires. Slack, did he get down the door? No, he didn't, but the flank is coming through. GodRx may need some help, and the help comes in the form of a C. Meanwhile, Octane on site drops, and that is just a beautiful play from GodRx. He read the situation perfectly and executed what needed to be done for Minnesota to win the round.
Just a hell of a power position coming in from GodRx as well, just right behind that van. You can stare at the window, you can stare at the door, and you're pretty safe from the guy on the flank, as long as you're nice and cozied up in the corner. Want to give credit to Silly that round as well. He took a bad gunfight when he was naded out to make sure his teammate could get the bomb down, so no one else had to be out of position. But of course, GodRx, 13-4, man. What more could you ask for?
Having a fantastic game 2. On the flip side, again, you have to look at Octane 2-5, the player we highlighted really before this, having a pretty poor performance so far, as GodRx will miss the jump, and he says, all right, well, I don't think I have time to maybe go for that again. Slack, of course, does get a first blood. They know exactly where GodRx is, thanks to the stuns that come out. Player right above him.
I feel like we're working with a pretty high-level crowd. Misses the jump, and I heard an aw. They know how important getting in top restaurant can be, but of course, even if you're lower, he's hearing all these doors get opened up.
He has so much.
You know there's pressure nearby. Karma ready for the gunfight. He's gonna fall. Apathy there for the trade.
Tell you what, if he found that second kill, that would have not been okay. Let's just say that. Apathy shuts him down, though. So the trade does come through. Still, Seattle with the man advantage. 4 versus 3, and Silly can hear all the information in the world. The first almost pre-fired for the second. I don't think he realized Apathy was as close as he was, but the fight's coming through from the seam. App needs to stay down. The nades are going to be thrown out. Octane shuts down the seam, so it's just down to Alex now with 14 seconds left. He's not escaping. Seattle, again, go within a round. 5-4, still the advantage for Minnesota. This next round, of course, Seattle have to win or they lose the game.
It's a shot of that high-level crowd we're here working with that know about all the details on the map. Smart little LA. We've had enough Anaheim events that eventually, you know, crowds will figure it out. Apathy having a nice game as well, trying to do his best GodRx impression. And he'll need to do it 2 more rounds in a row. Seattle just fighting for their second search and destroy win on the year.
Oof, I'll tell you what, that sniper shot from GodRx was very, very close. For Minnesota, no one crosses to A. Instead, you can see the pressure they want to put mid-map. Silly's been tagged up by nades. He's going to throw a smoke towards top window, so if his teammate does want to jump up, he'll be able to do so. Seem, of course, that player says no. Wants to use that smoke as bait, if nothing else. Basically, this is going to come down to Panda potentially try and sniff out this push. There's going to be 2 players there. Death Silence has been popped. He at least finds one. Alex again, the man who just always seems to be in the right spot. And Octane watching the cross has to be calling for support. He needs to win the first fight. Does, barely by the skin of his teeth. Alex peaks, and maybe a little overzealous there from Octane. But has he bought enough time for his teammates to get into position to force us to a round 11?
Not a lot of control on B site in the 2 versus 3, so they're not going to get this bomb down straight away. Seattle, again, as long as their trades are good, they're in a great spot to force this round 11. In Minnesota, they're going to have to hunt for a peg. That's what they've been waiting for. Guerrillas with this snipe, can't connect, only 20 seconds on the clock.
What, that was close. At this point, you have all the information you need, and hold on a minute, that was a little close. Guerrillas for the 1v3. Time is ticking. You don't want a buddy stack if you're Seattle. You do not want to give him any chance, and Karma realizes that veteran play. He just runs away. So even if Guerrillas got a miraculous double, it wouldn't have mattered. No time on the clock. We are going to a round 11. This is the most Seattle surge, yes indeed.
And I will say, shout out Octane, that last round. He was at a big disadvantage in that gunfight against Assault, wins it by a bullet, and helps save the round for his team. But Ben, Seattle, S&D woes have been consistent. Pander, the new man on the roster, his job is just to bump him up, help him out, just put him a little bit over the edge. 1 round away, we might just be there.
1-7, Panda currently 8-6 here, going into round 11. Minnesota are going to be on the attacking side. Seattle, they stack the site. First blood, Apathy, and it's such a key component for Minnesota that falls. Alex gets first blooded.
Now Minnesota stationary, waiting for a pick to come through that Seattle, you can see, giving them nothing to work with.
And honestly, Assault for Minnesota could be a key player in this round 11. He's watching the flank right now, but if he can try and get control over mid-street, you could potentially see a rotation out come through. That might not be the case. However, Asim gets first blood. App's waiting so patiently. He's in such a good spot. So is Octane. They can collapse in on this site. And if they do it at the same time, if they do it with Dead Silence, this could be absolute chaos for Minnesota as Asim tries to be the playmaker. App again finds himself a kill. The trade doesn't come through. Silly drops. Octane does fall. Now it's down. Assault and Guerrillas in a 2v3. Apathy, Panda, and Slack still alive for Seattle.
Not a lot of time on the clock. The first kill is in. Assault with the gunny. Slack go for the trade. He's able to get 2. They shut him down for the round 11 win.
After that first fight, that looks scary on stairs. But up pops Slack for the double kill. And for Seattle Surge's second search and destroy win of the season. Gents, you're right. This was not going to be one of those series which was a complete blowout. Series now tied 1-1.
And I just look at situations like that, round 11, with the old roster. How confident are you, even in a 3v2, for them to get the win? But now the excitement for the team is there, getting another one on the board. Tying up the series is a nice place to be.
Not quite as good as the reaction when they won their first search and destroy, but you can still see it means a lot to get their second win under their belt. A quick glance at the stats. Silly 3-10, Asim 4-8, some poor performances there, but Guerrillas 14-7, Alex 9-9.
And Apathy as well, 14 kills, just completely turning up. And like that 1v1 gunfight he had on Asim just to shut him down, get the bomb drop in that spot. It's gunfights like that, as well as the other 13, that just make your life so much easier in search and destroy.
Apathy having a fantastic time, and credit to Panda, the new man on the block, 8-6 in that game number 2. But as we said, series now tied 1-1. It's a good one so far. Will it continue to be that way? We'll find out after this quick break.
Call of Duty League is brought to you by Metro by T-Mobile. Rule your day with the #1 brand in prepaid.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back live here at the Shrine Auditorium in LA. What a series we have on our hands. Series tied 1-1, but I want to take a look at our U.S. Army tactical play that came in that game too. Apathy just split the map wide open, Chance.
And I mean, you call it a tactical play, and again, for Minnesota, it shouldn't be tactical. It is just a fast flank straight through mid. You throw some smokes down, and Silly not even reacting to it because Apathy as aggressive as you can possibly be. And you pop that silence to make it happen. Minnesota, I'm assuming we're expecting just to be able to hear him coming. Apathy as quiet as he can be on the map.
Sneaky little man.
Free 2 kills.
Yeah, and you talk about just the overall performance he had was fantastic in that game too, Chance.
And you can't really say any more, right? You were talking about 1 and 7 in Search and Destroy. That should be their primary focus. And I will say, as great as Apathy was, still in my mind, when we used to see those like 3v2s when it was Enable and whoever else alive, we seemed to like watch them lose those all the time. And then in that final round, Pander's one of those guys, and I was like, you know what, Ben? I actually think they could do it this time and successful with it. So I think we're seeing a little bit of those improvements.
That's fair, but still, it went to a round 11. So by no means was that a comfortable Search and Destroy win
against
for
Minnesota,
Seattle.
who's a great team, though.
Also true. Also fair.
Just saying.
But we'll take a look at our maps and modes presented by the U.S. Air Force for the rest of this series. Of course, series tied at 1-1. Still to come, St. Petrograd domination. Then we go to a Ramaza hardpoint, which we will definitely see potentially on the horizon. A Game 5 Search and Destroy Arklov peak. Of course, that all depends on how the next few games will go. And one of the interesting things about domination specifically is, well, statistically, at least, Seattle Surge lead the way in win percentage in this game mode at 80%, #1 on the leaderboard.
Yeah, 4-1. I mean, they've been great. This has been their bread and butter. I actually talked to Asim a little bit before the series, asking for general predictions, and I was basically said, like, I know you're thinking like 3-0 or 3-1, right? He was like, yeah, it's like, unless we lose the domination, it should be a 3-0. Now that, of course, gets flipped on its head because Minnesota just shot the Search and Destroy. Now they're going into the one map that you would have really expected Seattle to put up a great fight on. So you can see Seattle Surge, man, feeling a little good.
Yeah, rightfully so. They know that this is a game mode that they may be actually favorites in to take against Minnesota Røkkr, and if they do that, then the likelihood of a Game 5 could be massive. Of course, we still have to go through Game 4, the hard point. But a Game 5 Search and Destroy, our first series of the day, I wouldn't say no.
It happens.
It does.
It happens every now and again. We get a couple Game 5s. But I will say, like, as good as like the head-to-head domination, like maps and modes look, obviously Minnesota has been playing better competition.
That's also
they're making it deeper in tournaments. So I'm not saying this is clear cut. I wouldn't even necessarily say I favor Seattle in this matchup. I still am going to favor Minnesota for the domination, just not by a wide margin. This to me would have been the closest map we had in the series.
Oh, Game 3, loading up. St. Petro domination. Can Seattle give themselves the advantage in the series? Going 2-1 up, or as many people expected, will Minnesota come out, take the advantage, and maybe even potentially the series 3-1. I still favor them heavily in the hard point, so for me, this a crucial game for Seattle Surge.
And on St. Petrograd, it is going to be a dogfight for that B flag. We've casted maps where it takes a full 1.5, 2 minutes for either team to get a clear-cut advantage. So just keep your attention. If you can just have either team, either one, just massively start out slaying their opponent to get that clearance, they'll be good to go. And Alex, well, you talk about massively slaying, get the double kill off the rip. You're feeling pretty good.
You're feeling very good. That's for sure. The early control should be there for Minnesota. Of course, they have someone on the preferred side of this map. So capping B slowly but surely should come through for Minnesota, though. Before they want to do that, it's about trying to get a little bit of control, and the kills will come with it. Alex just so good at staying alive, almost found himself two teammates there for the trades, however. B should be locked in.
I was going to say, sometimes it takes 1.5 minutes, sometimes it only takes 30, 35 seconds. Alex, again, just the perfect opening break. Get a double kill, get inside, get Assault in a power position, and let him get all the kills, man, on a 4 spree for the moment. Just watching the cut off the cross for the map, so his teammates on the bottom left side of the mini-map know they just have to be focused on C.
So many kills already coming through for Minnesota Røkkr. You see that response eventually come through. Finally, it does in the form of Panda, but the trade is there, and you can see the pressure Minnesota want to put on the map. The decap of A comes through. Now, if you've read the spawns correctly here, this could be a horrible time to be a Seattle Surge fan.
This is going to be brutal. Seattle, they've sent one man towards B. He's never going to be able to get that flag. It's going to take a couple just to get A. Silly's still here, wins his first gunfight, and again, that's just going to slow the pace down just a little bit. You hold the triple cap for a couple seconds, you start to build a nasty lead. Already, Ben, they're up by 20 points.
The lead starting to get a little scary already, but Seattle Surge do a little bit of damage limitation. I want to hear how they're communicating, so we'll throw now to an Astro Gaming listening with Seattle Surge.
There's one assault. Assault back C on the roof.
Don't let me get me back, guys.
Assault is C.
Don't let me get me back, guys.
Assault back on the roof, you got me.
One shot on B, one shot on B.
Middle map, the telephone dead. Another one top.
Top tracks, one shot.
That's
Get it back.
Get a flag, one mid.
Cloudrex is B.
Okay, get it.
I need my water.
I have your A push.
I spawned MP1, I'm rapping back.
Watch your back. They're nading out blue dump or mid map.
Tracks dead.
Nice. I need a blue man.
Water dead.
Water dead.
Flowers and top downer. Flowers and top downer.
Top downer now. Top downer, water in bottom L. He's in L, he's in L.
Almost top downer.
I don't see top downer.
He's in L, damn it.
He's up here.
L weak top. I don't see L.
Alright, we gotta clear downer. We gotta clear downer here, guys. Top downer still out.
Top downer dead. There was one line.
Nice, got her.
Hold him in tracks. He's their side of the train.
Tracks one line.
Go top rails, one top rails,
I'm
guys.
gonna kill from rails.
Rails, Alex. We gotta just secure our base.
I don't see him rails. He's still rails.
One's holding B down. One's holding P1. One's holding P1. It's water. He's
Stunned him. What's B somewhere?
One's water arches.
Oh, he went back to me. He's going on.
Water arches.
Still in arches. He went.
Well, there's a quick glance at exactly how Seattle Surge were communicating. I mean, it sounded good. Unfortunately, the score is not the best here for Seattle Surge.
They went a straight like minute and a half without scoring a single point. Like in the comm Slack, is like, guys, we have to secure our base. I'm like, yeah,
you do.
You kind of do. It's important. And like immediately after that, team who is in Seattle's base went and picked up like a double kill. This is Minnesota just saying, hey, all right, we accidentally gave you a search and destroy. We're just gonna floor you into domination and blow you out as much as you possibly can.
Just want to give credit to Alex as well. He started off with that double kill. He hasn't really slowed down since then. 13-5, he lies currently having a fantastic game. I mean, we talk about him in game 1. We talked about him in game 2, search and destroy, and well, hell, here we are talking about him in game 3 as well.
Well, at the same time, though, smokes out flag cap. Seattle able to get a little bit of love on the board. They're able to secure that B flag. Still, though, down by 50, you know, not an ideal spot to be. They're going to have to hold this B flag for the final minute and then cap it again the next round. They got their work cut out for them, Ben.
Yeah, they most definitely do. It's possible, of course, because we saw Minnesota do it in this first half. It's just highly improbable. I feel it's going to be the big concern for Seattle Surge.
And now, of course, you got Minnesota trying to be annoying as well. They attacked the A side earlier, turned that into a triple cap. Now, despite the fact that they don't have B, they're actually going to start spawning at A. So to be able to get that for a second, that just means Seattle, though, they're going to have to get C, and they're going to have to get C fast.
I mean, this is just all about rotating around the map for the final 40 seconds if you're Minnesota Røkkr. Just be a nuisance. Try and hold on to as big a lead as possible. Under no circumstance, let yourself get trick capped, right? You do not even want to allow your home hill to be neutralized. You want to make sure you stay scoring points to keep that sizable lead.
And already for Minnesota, when they end up going into this next round, it makes your opening break a lot easier. They're going to have such a comfortable lead formed that they don't have to force the action over towards the B flag. You can just let yourself play up in the power positions. Let Seattle come to you. Make sure you save your nades for when they jump on the B flag, because they're going to have all the time in the world just to waste on the clock if they can.
5 seconds left, and already a 40-point lead has developed for Minnesota Røkkr in that first half. That was almost flawless, Chance.
And so a 40-point lead, that means Seattle, if they triple cap for a minute, they'll be right back in it. And of course, if you just, if you hold the 2 cap, that means it's going to take 3. So they will be on the better side. They're going to need to have a good opening break. And we saw Minnesota took them, what, 35 seconds before they got B? As long as Seattle is able to get this B flag within the first minute of the game, it's possible. They're still just going to have to be on point for a very long time.
And I'm curious to see how Minnesota react to being on this side of the map. Do they just want to put pressure on B early to really try and put Seattle Surge on the back foot, or potentially just overextend the map? Just try and get as fast as you possibly can towards the C flag.
I mean, you really just play for kills right here. Whatever you do, you play for kills, or you can just put on the pressure. Yeah. Alex, again, no fear in his heart. Him and his team are already through, trying to go for the C flag, and Alex doesn't even need the help. He's just doing it by himself.
Absolutely love it. The problem is there are still a couple of Seattle players around C. Alex is going to try and deal with them himself. The trades should come through. Apathy shuts down GodRx. Assault still there. Seam as well at the back of the map. So far, worst case scenario for Seattle Surge. They don't really have any control of anything. Not earning points, 108 to 67. In fact, see, still capped barely on the skin of their teeth. And again, a scene deep in the back of the map, just being a nuisance. Right now, currently just blocking the spawn from Seattle Surge. So those reinforcements will not come to the C flag.
I was going to say, just having that pressure on the C side of the map right now for Minnesota makes their job so much easier. They got people blocking spawns over by C. They are double swarming the A flag, which, yes, Seattle is eventually going to be able to get. And Seattle, actually, maybe the move is here. Now they can get towards this B flag. The problem is that is more than a minute off the clock, and they're down by more than they were at the half.
Fantastic job and discipline from Minnesota Røkkr. A team deep in the back of the map, blocks the spawn for so long. And you saw just how quick they're able to actually flip the spawns initially.
Potential triple cap, though. They got a little bit of pressure towards C, which, of course, gets dealt with straight away by Alex, who has still just been a god on the map. 22 kills for him. And, well, Karma, he's just going to get sniffed out. You can see this is where Minnesota pumps the brakes. Slows down the action as much as possible. As long as they hold on to this C flag, they're still going to be in a great spot because they got, well, just such the big lead that they've built for themselves.
23-85. Still 2-1 of Flag's advantage for Seattle Surge. Panda slides out, he'll find one. The pressure still coming in. However, you would expect potentially Seattle Surge to try and go for a trip cap at some point in the game, just to try and diminish that lead as quickly as possible.
And if my math is actually good enough, I think Seattle, they're going to need to at least neutralize the C flag for one tick, or else they might lose the game with the point deficit they have. And of course, if you got Minnesota that neutralizes B, that makes it even more difficult for Seattle Surge. Minnesota, they take it over. And again, every single tick now that goes by, it's just going to force Seattle's hand. They're going to need to get a triple cap.
And even for Minnesota here, you don't even necessarily have to cap B. You can keep it neutral for as long as possible, and you'll just negate the amount of points Seattle Surge can actually earn. So just smart plays coming from Minnesota. They finally decide that, yep, now's the time to cap B. GodRx, a cheeky little circle. Panda shut down. B will be cleared. And just like that, Minnesota Røkkr back in the driver's seat.
36-point lead with 2 minutes left to go again. Triple cap is desperate. They have another maybe 45 seconds for Seattle to pull this off to make it happen. You can see the map pressure, though, for Minnesota. Just look at where the players for Seattle are starting to spawn. When you're in that back right little pocket, that means it's going to take you literally like 15, 20 seconds before you can even get to the B flag, let alone get the kills, let alone get the clearance.
Oh, do you believe in Miracle's chance?
Not in this situation, Ben.
For Seattle Surge, yeah, this is definitely not looking likely, or at this point, even possible. A minute 30, Minnesota Røkkr, a massive, massive lead. And it's about this point, Chaz, where we should probably start talking about Game 4.
I mean, we could start, yeah, I was going to talk about Game 4. We got all the time in the world to prep for it. Minute and 22 on the clock, and this is the point where, like, might as well just start playing for stats, right?
Yeah.
Like, you got Seattle that's getting outslayed by, like, 20, 30 kills. Like, Karma 9 and 21, just make sure you find some kills. Pad him just a little bit at the end of the game. Just soften the blow just a little bit more.
This game, as we mentioned, over, and you kind of pulled this one correctly, Chance. You said this was one, despite, of course, I think it was, what, 80% win record, Seattle Surge?
4-1.
4-1.
4-2 now.
Good record, as you said, yeah. 4-2 now. They will fall in the domination leaderboard. You called it correctly. Minnesota Røkkr to come out, take this game. And you think about what that means now for the series, Chance, heading into a Game 4. Is there any belief or any chance possible at all?
Absolutely. I mean, we saw like the map 1, right? Map 1 was on Hackney Yard. It was a very close game, and that's where Minnesota were 3-0 on it. Like, Minnesota has looked phenomenal on that map the entire time. For map 4, I think we go into Ramaza. We haven't seen either team play on this map before. So we're going into a map where we're expecting Minnesota to win. Still a very close game. For map 4 now, it's going to be a situation where, well, obviously back against the wall for Seattle, but it's the best window of opportunity they're going to have.
With that, no information really for that Game 4. Can Seattle Surge stay alive in the series? However, they played well. I don't want to necessarily jump the gun and say, oh, they look better with this change. They look worse at X, Y, and Z. It's still definitely too early to make those judgment calls.
And I will say, for as far as domination goes, if you want to build any bit of momentum for Minnesota, they just got all of it. You can't even be excited because they figured out they won 3.5 minutes ago. So
their actual celebration was 3 minutes ago.
Now fist bump, and they're like, all right, guys, what's our strats on Ramaza? What's our opening break going to be? That is what their comms were probably like that entire second half.
Pretty simple stuff on the side there of Minnesota Røkkr. They now lead the series 2-1. The question, will they close it out 3-1? I think that's what you actually said at the very, very beginning, that your most likely outcome of this was going to be a 3-1 result for Minnesota.
I would say so, yeah. I mean, Seattle, again, I'm expecting them to make improvements with like the substitution change, but Minnesota, again, in my mind, have proven they're an elite team. Their next step is just whether or not they can prove that they can win an event.
That Alex showed so far in this series, 30-18. It's funny because we mentioned at the very beginning his overall domination KD doesn't look
.92.
good. Right.
Well, not now anymore.
Well, going into this it was, and you're thinking, how's he let that happen? He has the worst record of any player for a specific match.
The single worst domination performance in the league that dragged his KD. Like, again, if you got rid of that, he would jump from a .92 to 1.07. So he's putting on games like this, again, just to get back in the swing of things. He saw that KD and he was like, that is not the kind of player I am. That's not what I want to see. How many is it going to take to get me back to that, 1.07, 1.10 range?
I'm just curious, who was that team actually against where he had that performance? Do you know offhand?
I believe it was Chicago.
Chicago? Okay.
I'm like 75% confident about that.
Okay, well, that would make sense. Of course, for Røkkr, he's had a fantastic series. We'll take a look at the damage dealt presented by PlayStation. For him, the series has been very, very good as well. We talked a lot about, of course, Alex, but he's leading the way from game 1 at least, 3,829.
I was going to say, I thought that was game 3. I was like, bro, he only got 16 kills. How many assists do you have to give him? Hardpoint game 1, the important key to that graphic. And again, we talked about Hackney Yard. It was going to be the Røkkr and Alex show. But with 2 Seattle Surge players, again, right behind, that means Karma, who just was 9-21 at one point in the domination, needs to make sure he bounces back and has the same performance on Ramaza, or he's roughly the same that we saw in map number 1 for the Hackney Yard.
Just overall, as I said, I think it's too early to jump the gun and say, yep, Seattle Surge looked better with Panda, but if you were to just kind of rate his performance so far, playing well?
I mean, again, let's just erase that map number 3 because it wasn't good for anybody. I'm just seeing a guy who right now is doing what he needs to do. I mean, this is obviously a very big stage for him. He's going against a very good team.
Game 3, he played okay.
Decent KD. When you get blown out like that, it doesn't tell me a lot about the player. But for map 1, he looked great. And again, for me, it's really just about that search and destroy. Like, even if it helps you, like, all the team vibe and stuff, we're not really going to know. That's only going to be, like, the internal, like, discussion within the team. I don't know what Pander's impact is going to be there. I imagine it's going to help, right? But at the same time, for Search and Destroy, he had a very nice performance. He's making sure that when Seattle's getting those first bloods, he's the type of player that's going to make sure you convert those rounds.
Well, Maza hardpoint, game 4. And as you said, Chance, this one we have really zero information about for either of these 2 teams. This is the first time we'll see it in action for both of them. The big question, can Seattle Surge force the game 5? Is there anyone specific you look at to say, yep, they need to be the X factor of this game?
I mean, it depends on what you want to define as the X factor. The guy that needs to turn it around and step it up for the team, for me, that's got to be Slack. He had a very solid, respectable performance in game number 1, but overall in Respawn, he is just not able to keep up with, well, the likes of players like Alex.
First hill, pops. Already, Minnesota Røkkr starting. They want to continue. They did spawn on the favorable side. They want to control those spawns on the second hill. Alex now springs into life. Unfortunately for him, he's going to be shot from the side. It was Apathy top mid. And Røkkr, again, just locking down that spawn. All he needs to do here is watch bottom middle, top middle, and he should be fine.
Doing his job so far, and of course, no real pressure on the hill. 25 seconds have gone by before Minnesota's really able to get a body inside at all. Now, of course, player underneath sandbags, Røkkr is going to take care of him. Right now, Seattle, they are fighting just for the hill, which they are going to need to get. It's going to be contest heavy at least for a moment. They do break through. And you can see Minnesota just keeping the pressure on the back, making sure that they're holding for the next hill.
Salt felt all that pressure inside the hill as Seattle do break through. However, Røkkr still sandbags, controlling those spawns to his best ability.
He's out of ammo.
No one from Seattle can sneak through. Luckily for him, he has a pistol in his back pocket, so he'll try and search for a different primary if he can find one. However, as our second hill pops, Minnesota in control.
In control, Alex, though, you see, does get tagged up. Assault, his job is the front door. Røkkr, again, only has the pistol. He's responsible for the side door. Now he's got the MP5, but Seattle have actually broken through the back, but still, you got to win the gunfight. Røkkr versus Pander takes him down, and now it's just Karma and Slack, the last 2 players alive. Slack just walks straight into pre-fire. Assault says, thank you very much for number 1 and number 2. Minnesota building a nice little lead.
So far, so good for Minnesota Røkkr. They've locked down this second hard point with relative ease, and it doesn't look like they're going to slow down. I want to send it down to an AstroGaming listening with the Minnesota Røkkr.
2 front, 1 side, Ivy wall, need Ivy wall. Need Ivy wall.
He's on one shot right now.
Someone hold him on top.
One to be top bug already.
Go. Yo, he pushed the street late. Oh my god, he's awful. Ammo! Not hurt, not hurt. Top rug. Am I dead? Alright, one top rug. Make sure we just drop him in here. Penner's still top rug somewhere. Yo, he's top ladder. Oh my god. Inside top ladder.
Nice, Alex.
He closed the door on himself, but he's in there. Might be chair, yo. Might be in chair.
I don't see chair guy.
He's in there in the corner, top ladder. Top ladder. He's wrong.
Right side that. I'm weak.
Oh, it's implant size Panther.
Got him behind. No top end, David. He's ladder. He's going to miss that David.
I want to miss theirs. Mr. David.
Well, as you can see, Minnesota Røkkr 68 to 51. Still 30 seconds left on this hill as they try and break through. But credit really where credit is due after a tricky second hardpoint chance. So far, Seattle doing a good job bringing this game back.
Very nice hold. Basically just the full 60, maybe a moment of contest is able to come through, but it doesn't last for very long. So the bounce back that Seattle needed, and this is just shades of exactly what we saw in the first hardpoint. Very back and forth game, but the issue was for map number 1 for Seattle, there was one hill where Minnesota was just too strong. Now they have all the map pressure in the world trying to set up for construction. Someone for Seattle, they're going to have to get a couple kills to start the breakthrough, because you see in the feed, Slack and Apathy, they're not that guy.
Our team may have a tricky fight. Not going to win it. Seam actually gets himself a double, so Seattle Surge do have the lead. But this rotation is going to be a tricky one as Minnesota Røkkr ready and waiting, set up for the Seattle Surge push to come through. 88 to 83, and that lead starting to climb. But Slack could lead the way here for Seattle to break in.
He's also by himself, though. He's going to have to win a couple gunfights just to open up some map pressure. His teammates are starting to get a couple kills as well, but he's just by himself. He doesn't win a gunfight, and this might be the hill where Minnesota just takes full advantage. Panther now trying to be the man that's the leading charge. He's got a little bit of help, so the clearance is in. You got to make the move, but he's not even going for it. He's letting his teammate get the time.
And the problem is you did that so late, and look at what's happened on the rotation on the minimap. Again, Minnesota, they out-rotate Seattle here for our final hill of this rotation. And Octane with a big fight at the backside of the map. And somehow he stayed alive as well. He shut down Silly. And this is a fantastic little pinch, and it's going to be so important for Octane to stay alive, wait for his teammates, and try and contest at very least. And unfortunately for Octane, he does fall, so that's going to leave Slack completely by himself. The kill feed, all purple. Slack dancing and darting between the shots, but luckily for Seattle, they've spawned close.
Yeah, just such a slow attempt to try to break through the hill. They're not really making it messy, and that means, well, you got to sulk and lay down and just stare down the barrel of the lane. But now, of course, the smoke clears, and you got 3 players in front of you, so the tactical coming out to good use, but now it's Alex in the feed. He's able to pick up quite a few. Slack there to shut him down, and just a ton of contest time, Ben.
And this is where, if you're Seattle, you basically just have to give this hill up, give this scrap time, rotate over through carpets, get as quickly as you can to the construction side of the map. You want to push all the way through, of course, getting ready for P2.
This is Panther actually doing a pretty good job of being annoying. He does get dealt with, but that means Seattle does have a lot of pressure on the backside of the map, but now Alex up top just trying to be main Slayer. He is not expecting to get these spawns for like the future hills. He's just trying to make sure he stays alive, and so far so good.
I mean, he's 18-9, currently double positive, having a fantastic game as he has had a fantastic series, is worth mentioning. Top Construction finds another. Slack drops. Apathy will soon follow suit. There's one more. It's Panda. Finally, Alex will fall. But the lead still by no means one-sided, still by no means a blowout. Seattle Surge keeping this close.
And in spite of Alex's best effort, Seattle doing a very nice job just to get pressure at least inside the point. As soon as you say that, you look at the feed, nothing but the Røkkr on the left side. Now got RX in a nice little spot where he can call out information of players crossing mid-map. You get inside the hill, he, well, would just be able to shut you down. But you see Seattle, they've chalked it up, giving away all that scrap time just to fight for new.
But you have to win these gunfights very, very quickly. And you want to put pressure back over towards construction to force Minnesota to spawn as far out as they possibly can. Really get as much time as you possibly can. Turn this second hardpoint into a money hill. Get yourself back into this game. The current score, 169-117. Can Seattle get the work done here?
Gravity not on the side of the Røkkr. The ARs might be in a bit of a better spot, though. Octane, though, just gonna shred. Wins 2 big ones in Seattle. The first push is gonna get stuck.
And now if you're Seattle, you have full control. The final 45 seconds, or say final, the majority of this hill should be good for them. Minnesota probably have maybe 1-2 pushes left in them before they might just concede this scrap time unless they break through. Slack is there to watch the crossover towards the hard point. Seattle doing such a good job of bringing themselves back into this game.
Enter inside with the nades, trying to find a solid, able to get it. You see the smoke causing problems. Players get able to get inside and contest, but Banner makes the read. He's able to find a big 2 in Seattle. Able to hold on, not quite for the full 60, but enough to get back into the game and effectively tie it right back up.
Almost as they said, anything you can do, we can do better. Seattle will be so close to tying this up. But again, it's Minnesota. They've rotated early, and they're ready and waiting for the Seattle players to start their push.
And this is one of those moments that this could be one of the game deciders. If Seattle are able to break through and at least chip away maybe 15, 20 seconds off the clock, their job is going to be done. Or if they can break in sooner, even better. And now you got Karma, the leading man, challenging around back.
Well, the problem is 2 players have spawned just to his right-hand side. He's not going to know that, so instead tries to push him towards the hill. Alex will shut him down. Panda trying to watch the cuts up top. He's not going to be able to do so successfully. So, yes, Seattle Surge, they have a great hold. They get almost a full 60, but Minnesota respond almost instantly right back with a full 60 potentially of their own.
Smoke in the front, though. Seattle might have some clearance to try to get pressure on the hill, but it's really just one man by himself, and, well, he gives it a try, but just gets chopped down by Alex in Minnesota. Again, effectively the full 60 hold. They are going to be in a very comfortable spot down the line.
All right, Seattle, now it's your turn. Can you respond with a full 60 as we go to bottom construction?
And I mean, the issue is, like, they're going to need a full 60, but then they're going to have to win the rotation after that. You're to the point where you get 30 seconds. Like, Minnesota could do that on this hill. They are very capable of just breaking through. So pressure is on. It is perfect Call of Duty required by Seattle from here on out.
And credit where credit is due from both teams. It's been perfect so far in our second rotation of hills, but it is Minnesota with the advantage. 221, 176. Are you watching front door? Select is. GodRx will drop. Meanwhile, Apathy's watching the carpet push, so it should be a matter of time before Alex drops. So far, so good for Seattle Surge. Still 35 seconds left. Don't team nade. It's like scurries out of the way of Octane's nade. I've been, honestly, seriously impressed in this whole second rotation.
At the same time, though, Sneaky Man comes around back. Someone's going to make the play. I think it was GodRx, but Minnesota, they got the swarm exactly when they needed to. They're going to break through. And 18 seconds is a ton of time to go their way. Seattle, you got to win the rotation. You might want to need to fight for this scrapper if you chalk it up. Again, they're just in such a difficult spot. A 1v1 inside the hill. GodRx just shuts them down very quickly. And now Seattle, well, they're trying to work their way over towards the tunnel. It was a contest fest last time. Now you got to get past Assault.
Oh, and that's a great start to the hill. Assault lining them up. A little bit of support comes through from GodRx as well. But he finds the triple kill. And surely Minnesota, with just 10 points, all they need, should be good to close it out here. If not, they have the opportunity to rotate as quickly as they want. But the kill feed is all purple. Minnesota will want to end this one here.
The well-oiled machine of Minnesota, GodRx, 27 kills to his name on the 7th spree to close off the game. Him and Alex, the playground they just put on in Hardpoint. Oh, yeah. They made it look easy.
And that type of performance is exactly why a lot of people are saying, keep your eyes on Minnesota Røkkr this weekend. They are a team that can definitely go on a run. And to the point you made earlier on, Chance, can they actually win? Can they win a weekend? I think this is a weekend potentially where we could see it happen.
It's the final thing that they need to prove, but again, a well-oiled machine. You got the main Slayers doing their job. Again, every single respawn, Alex is putting on a clinic. GodRx a lot of the time right behind them. And the fans, a little bit excited, you know, trying to get some claps going, but that was the expectation for them, that they were going to win that game.
I'm a little disappointed. I don't see any of those Minnesota Røkkr-themed drinks on the table. They look great, but either way, shout out to everyone at the Minnesota Watch Party. I'm sure you enjoyed that. You'll see your team in action a little bit later on in the day. There's the stats from Game 4. And GodRx, I mean, he ended on one hell of a spree, 28 and 18. Alex, 29 and 20 as well.
And I will say, from the side of Seattle, I think they look maybe exceeded a little bit of people's expectations. They looked respectable, but obviously a little bit more work to do.
Well, that's everything from myself and Chance from Game 2. We'll now send it into the main stage, where Rich has a post-game interview.
Yeah, it's time for your instant reaction, brought to you by PlayStation. And the first thing that I actually want to talk to you about, because I've been getting to talk to you quite a bit. You guys are doing fantastic week in and week out. But I want to talk about this new roster. What was it like to actually play against this new squad?
Yeah, I mean, with the caliber of players they have, we knew it was going to be a tough matchup. We just studied up and prepared for it every day so far, and just happy to come out with the win.
Yeah, one of the reasons I wanted to start there is because it's somewhat of the theme of this particular tournament. So many substitutions. How's that actually affect you guys when you are getting ready and you are trying to get practice in?
Yeah, I mean, when they substitute new players, it's like a different play style for every team pretty much. We had to pretty much go back to the drawing board and figure out how that new player plays, what their tendencies are, and just get everything down for them.
Well, one of the things I actually heard the caster saying was is this a squad that's going to be able to get a win? Everybody's trying to figure out where to assess your roster against all of the other teams. We've seen a lot of success, but do you think that you guys can go the distance at this tournament?
Oh, we definitely can. We have 2 world champs on our team, and we have 3 young players, including myself, who have the drive to win and actually want to win. And with our talent, I think we can definitely take it.
We've been seeing it quite a bit. The question is, are we going to see them go for one of these deep runs this weekend? Very excited to see that, and plenty more Call of Duty right after this.